Alright, what is up guys, and welcome to the 8th part, I believe, of how to code a Minecraft kit server. Now it's been a little while and I just came back from school, but it was time to do a video. So let's do one. What I want to do today is I think I'm going to do the spawn protection. That includes the teleport to spawn and everything around it. Let's first actually make the command to actually teleport to spawn. And for that we're first going to have to make a location where spawn is going to be. So we want it static because it has to stay in the code. So the public static location, and then we'll call it spawn. We'll put the import location, yeah, Control Shift O, and then we'll do new location. We need a world, so we need bucket get world 0 because that is the overworld, and then we need location. Spawn is usually always at 0, 65 0. Basically what that is I think that works. Does it work? Bucket.get world. Oh, we'll just call it world then. There we go, that works. So it's basically what this is we created a static location. Static means it stays in there. So we've got a public static location, spawn, it's a new location, and it is in the normal world at x0, y65, z0. So that's the actual location. Now we need a command to actually teleport to that location. So we're going in here, we'll add spawn in there, and we're just going to create a new, we'll just copy and paste this over for the template, and we'll call it spawn command. There we go. Now there are easier ways to do this, but this is how I usually do it. So we only want an actual player to be able to teleport to the spawn. So there we go. And then now we're not gonna put in a delay yet. We might do that eventually, like add a delay to every single teleport. But right now we're just going to make spawn instant because that is a lot easier. So we'll do that, and then the label will always be spawn because this will only run when the player runs spawn. So then we'll just do player.teleport util.spawn. There we go. And then we'll send them a message, player.send message. We'll do it like in gray, I guess. You have been teleported to spawn. There we go, and that's that. And this is quite easy. So we made the spawn location in util. We added a new command in there, and now all we need to do is go into the main class and make another command, go to spawn. So we have to specify it. So like spawn, there we go. I'm do the spawn command. Now this is the simple part of the plugin. So what we need to do right now is we need to be able to like protect all the blocks outside of spawn so people can't actually break it, because we don't want to use world guard. We can hard code all of that, we don't need it. And we want people to basically lose their spawn protection as soon as they leave spawn. And for that we're going to first have to create a utility. We'll do public static boolean, because we want to know when they are in spawn and know when they're not in spawn. So we'll do is close to spawn. And then all we need is a location and location lock and a radius, which is the amount that it has to check whether the player is in that oh wait, I did it the wrong way around. The radius, basically, if you specify a radius of 13, you'll see that in a little bit. Return false. Just put that in, yeah. If you specify a radius of 30, then what I'm going to do right now, it will look if that player is within 30 blocks of spawn, but you'll see that in a second. So what we're going to do is we're gonna put a safe thing in. If location is 0 or non-existent, we'll just return it, because that's just the safe thing, and so we like skip any error messages. Alright, so what we need to do now is we need to specify integer x, and this is going to be a little bit difficult. You need to use like math abs, basically what that does is it returns the integer, the absolute integer. And so we're going to do that, and then we're going to get block x from the location. Locate.get block x. There we go. And we need to subtract that from the spawn location. Now, if you would ever change spawn up there, you can also change it to a different location. You do that, but right now spawn is always at 0. But we're just going to put that in. So that's integer x. Then we need integer e, so we would do abs again to return the absolute integer, and we need location.getBlock z, and then we need to subtract that from the spawn getBlock z. There we go. And now all we need to do is actually check whether when we want to return positive and when we want to return negative. So what we need to do is we need to return true when they are within that radius. So we're just going to do if x is bigger than or smaller than radius, then we need to return true, and we need to return true when z is smaller than the actual radius. So there we go. That's that. That is what we need to check whether the player is close to the spawn location or whether they're not close. Now what I'm going to do is public static boolean. I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to just do a location with this. And basically what that is I want to have a default location. Wait, whoa, what is it? I need to return. All right. Return is close to spawn location block, and then we need 5 or 4. 5. We'll do 5. Basically, this is what I want to do is the default size of our spawn is going to be 5. Actually, create a small spawn in here, which I'm sure right now. I'm not sure if that is 5. It's probably not 5, so we have to resize it a little bit. But I want the default size of spawn to be 5, and when I'll show you it later. I don't always want to specify the radius, so if I do is close to spawn without the actual radius, it will do the default radius, which is 5, and then it will use that. So what we need to do right now is we need to check when the player loses their spawn protection, and for that we're going to have to use an event called onPlayerMove. There we go. We'll just put in here. It doesn't really matter. At event handler, and I actually forgot to put that in here. So if you did it, to put that above there, otherwise it doesn't work. So go event handler, public void on move, and then player movement event, I believe it is. Otherwise we have to look that up a little bit. Player move event probably. Is that it? Yes, that's it. So this event will run whenever a player moves. And what we're going to have to do is we'll do location from is event.get from, and location to, which is event.get to. So those are basically the two locations where the player is coming from and where the player is going to. And then if let's see what we need to if is closed util is close to spawn from, and util dot is close to spawn to, and actually we need to not have it to. So basically what this is it checks whenever the player moves if they are coming from spawn into a not spawn block. So again, if the player is close to spawn when they're like from the location, and when they're not close to spawn when they're to location. Now it's a little bit difficult, but it's quite obvious what it does. And then if they do that, we'll send them a message. We haven't specified a player yet, so we'll do that too. Player is event.getPlayer. There we go, and then we'll send the message to player. Now for the debug, see if everything is working. We'll just do a message saying you are now in a PvP zone, because they're not actually in the in spawn anymore. So we're just gonna test this to see if it's working. It might not be working and we need to fix some shit. So we're gonna export it to the normal location. I'm going to reload in the server. I put world edit in, doesn't really matter. It does enable. And now what we need to do is when we let's see, that works. Yeah, so we need to actually make spawn 1 bigger. There we go, quickly do this. It's a little bit choppy. But so basically what we have now is whenever we are in this block, we are in spawn. And now we're in this block, we're outside of spawn. And that is the movement manager, which does that. We'll make it 1 bigger, which works. Yeah, there we go. Now the spawn sucks, but this is not, you know, this is not a series that says how to code a spawn. This is a series that allows you to code that. So don't mind this shit. I'll just quickly put it around. There we go, set the time. There we go. So that's basically, this is the spawn size, and it is working that whenever we leave spawn, it sends us a message, which tells us both things. It tells us that the event is being used, that this line is working, that we know when a player leaves spawn, and the util is working, which means that we know whenever a player is within spawn and whenever a player is not within spawn. So now what we need to do, which I'm going to do for this episode too, is whenever we need, whenever a player does damage. So for that, I'm just going to make a new class file called damage listener. You don't have to do this. You can do it like in the other listeners too. But I just like it to do it to make it more easy. So we'll have to specify it in the main class too. pm.register events, new damage listener. This is old stuff. We've all done this before. We just add it to that. There we go. Control-Shift-O to import the damage listener. So that's that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add event handler. And we need to, whenever a player does damage, we need to check if that player is within spawn. If he's within spawn, he can't do damage, but he can do damage when he's outside of spawn. So we'll do public void. And actually, we could do the MCPvP kind of spawn protection. But do we need that? I don't think we do, because it's a kit server and our spawn is just going to be like this. Whenever they jump out and they are in the PvP zone. We're not allowing them to actually jump back into spawn. I might eventually make a new, like an extra episode telling you how to code the actual MCPvP spawn protection, but for right now, what I want is I just want people to not be able to jump back into spawn, so we don't have to worry about that. Really, go away, you. Okay, seriously. There we go. Alright, so they're not going to be able to jump back into spawn, so that's fine. Alright, so what we need to do then is, again, we need to check whenever they do damage when they're in spawn. So we'll do public void on damage, and then I believe it's just player damage event, which we can use. Event. Import everything. Player damage event, we might need to like use entity damage event. Entity damage event. There we go, that works. And then we need to check whether the actual entity is a player. So we'll do if event.getEntity instance of player. There we go. We'll import player, Control-Shift-O again, and then we'll do player, because this line will only run whenever the player is an actual player. So we'll do event player, and then player event.getEntity. There we go. And now we need to check whether the player is in spawn. So if player, if util is close to some player.getLocation. which means this will run whenever the actual player is within spawn, and when the player is within spawn, we want them to not do damage, so we'll cancel the event. There we go. We'll return it because we don't want the other lines to run when it's already canceled. So he's in there, and then we'll send him a message. Actually, we'll do that after we canceled it. Oh god, there we go. We'll set the player a message, player.send message. Check color dot dark red again. I kind of like that color. There we go. And we'll send him a message saying you cannot attack from within spawn. Alright, so that is that. And now what this does is when it makes sure that players can't actually attack from within spawn, so they can't do damage. And now what we also need to do is we need to make sure that players actually can't shoot their bows from within spawn. So we'll do @event handler public void, and that is on bow. And then we'll do entity shoot bow event. I believe that is it. We'll try to import it. Is it? Entity shoot bow event import. Yep, there we go. We need to check if the actual entity is a player. So we'll do @event get entity. If they are instance of a player, and we need to run this. So there we go. And then we'll do player shooter is event player event dot get entity. There we go. And now we need to check whether the shooter is close to spawn. So we'll do if util dot is close to spawn shooter dot get location. And then whenever he's close to spawn, we need to cancel the event, true, and then we'll send him a message saying, shooter. Send message, there we go, check color dot dark red. And we'll do like, you cannot shoot from within spawn. And then we'll return it the right day. You don't really have to return it, but it's just, you know, whatever. You can that's up to you. So what we did this episode, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. What we did is we created a spawn command. So whenever someone does /spawn, I will actually test it right now. There we go. Yes, skits. There we go. Reload it. Whenever we do /spawn, it spawns us to spawn right here. And we have spawn protection, so whenever you can only be hit when you leave spawn. Now I can't actually test it, but it is working, trust me. So that is that. We coded the whole spawn protection. Actually, we need to make sure that players can't actually break blocks within spawn. So for that, we'll create a new class, block listener. Again, you can all put this within one class file, but I kind of like it to have the different listeners in different class files. So we'll import that. We'll quickly put that in the main class. We need to register the event. Block listener. There we go. Import it. And now we need to make sure that players can't break blocks and players can't place blocks. So we'll do @event handler. As always, public void on block break. Block break event. I believe that is it. Yeah. And then we'll do if event dot get block dot get location. Actually, yeah, we need to have a util dot close to spawn. If util dot is close to spawn and that location, then we need to event dot set console true. Actually, we'll make the radius a little bit bigger, because if we do this, it allows players to actually break blocks outside of the spawn area, but we want players to not break blocks like ever. Actually, so we'll just do like that's the location, and then we'll do like, I don't know, 1,000 blocks, which should be safe. So this means that players can't break blocks 1,000 blocks from within spawn, and all we need to do is allow it when if event.getPlayer is op. So if the player is an actual op or admin, we want to be able to return. So what this does is whenever the player is up, it stops the line right here, and when they're not up, it runs this line, which means you know, just that they can't break blocks. And we're going to do the exact same thing, so you can just copy and paste it, but we'll do it on block place. Now you don't really have to worry about a whole lot of blocks breaking and placing. Block place event, because it is a kit server, but we don't want people to be able to break blocks or, you know, place blocks in spawn. So that is that, and then we'll actually send them a message saying, oh, we don't actually have player. Yeah, we'll just do event get player. Doesn't really matter. Send message. We'll do check color dark red because I like that color. Make sure the caps are all good. There we go. So import that, and then you cannot break blocks. And then we'll do the same thing here, except it's going to say you cannot place blocks. So that's that. We'll quickly test that too. It's kind of a long episode, but that's fine. We did a lot of stuff in it. So we'll do reload. We'll de-op ourselves because we don't want that. And then whenever we click this, it should tell us you cannot break blocks. And whenever we place a block, it says you cannot place blocks. Now, if we actually like fly 1,000 blocks out, we should be able to place blocks, but that's working, so we don't really have to check that. So that's good. We cannot break blocks whenever we run out of spawn. It says you're now in PvP zone. We cannot hit players when we're on this little platform right here. And we know whenever a player's nearby spawn. So we did a lot of stuff this episode. A lot of stuff that is very necessary for the server. And yeah, so leave a like if you enjoyed this series. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.